Okay, this is a recipe for laundry soap, and what you do is you take. I was out yesterday looking around trying to get some supplies in, and I ran across this bar soap. It's a laundry soap, and so I bought 2 bars of it. It only cost $1.25 or so each. So I got myself probably enough soap. If this stuff doesn't dry out, I've got myself enough soap for probably about 2, 4, 6, 8, maybe 10 years. All I need to do is keep a box or two of the other 2 ingredients, which I'll show you in a little bit. But what I did was I followed the directions for Ivory soap, which I used a few years ago, and I got 3 gallons of laundry soap out of a bar of Ivory soap. So I was looking for something else besides Ivory soap to do this with, and I came across this at the dollar store locally here. So what I did was I shaved on the large grate of this cheese grater. I shaved off a little more than half a bar of this. Oops. And the bar is this big, right? So you look at it and it's a little more than half. And I took those shavings and put them in hot boiling water just off the boil. And I stirred it around, and it took about 20 minutes or a half an hour to get the whole thing melted. And as the water cooled, it started to solidify. So I put more hot water in it. So I ended up putting almost 3 quarts of hot water just in the pot that was melting my shaved soap. And I quickly took an additional 2 gallons or 2.5 gallons of water and boiled it up, and put the boiling water partially in the pot that I melted the soap, so that I could loosen it up so that it would pour. And then I poured that soap, that melted soap that was lukewarm, and I poured it into a 5-gallon bucket, which I'll show you later, and I quickly poured the hot water that was just off the boil into the bucket to the point where it was at the 3-gallon level. That's what the old recipe called for, 3 gallons of hot water. So I stirred that around, and it almost immediately started to congeal up and get hard. So I took it and put it out on the front porch to cool off. And in the morning I went out there, and it was pretty solid. So I brought it back in and started to bust it up again. Poured some more. I poured cold water in it this time, and it loosened up. Pretty much turned it into like a floating chunks of congealed soap like this, floating in a bucket of soapy water, and it was foaming up real nice and everything. So what I did was I poured an additional gallon or so of cold water into it, and now I've got 4 gallons of soap mixture, and I'll show you that later in a second. Okay, here's approximately 4 gallons. And what I did, 4 gallons of soap mixture, and what I did was I took 2 cups of Arm & Hammer washing soda and 2 cups of not baking soda, but what do you call it? Borax, 40 meal team. And I threw that in there and stirred it up, and that helped to break up the soap even more. So now I have 4 gallons of melted soap off of a half a bar of that soap that I showed you, and in addition to almost 4 gallons of water, plus 2 cups each of borax and washing soda. That's it. 3 ingredients in addition to the 4 gallons of water. And here's my jugs that I'm going to fill up. And I wanted to show you how I broke up the chunks of soap that were floating around in here. Just an ordinary 3/8 power drill with, this is for my paint. When I go and paint something, I kind of like to stir it around like this. I just formed a stirring implement out of a coat hanger like that, so that the flat side could scrape the bottom of the can. Well, it doesn't reach the bottom of this because it's too short, but it still does the same thing. It breaks up the soap. And that's how I broke it up. Now it's a nice smooth mixture, and I'll show you the next step. Okay, let me turn the lights on. And as you can see, it's kind of pinkish. And I don't know why they colored it pink, because it smells like lemons. But that's it. It's smooth and it's liquefied, even though it's cool, and it's sat overnight outside. So that's like pure soap. And eventually, when I learn how to make my own soap, I'll be using my own soap in this recipe. I do believe that I could have gotten by with 1/3 of a bar of that soap rather than a half or like 3/5, but we'll see. And that's basically what I'm going to do. Now, I've got a funnel which will fit inside the lip of those gallon jugs, and I'll be filling those jugs up with the mixture to be stored away, and it doesn't go bad. I'll store it down here in the cellar so it stays cool. But anyway, that's a modification of my laundry soap recipe. So I hope you can follow along. It's basically half a bar of mild soap of any brand of soap will do, as long as it doesn't have antibacterial action in it, for a natural effect. So you take a bar of, say, ivory, you shave it up like I showed you, put it in some hot water and stir it so that it dissolves, and then quickly put it in a 5-gallon bucket like this, or a large, clean container that won't leach out. Like, I wouldn't use aluminum. Stainless is okay, I guess. But you take your soap, put it in the bucket, and you can add 2 cups of borax and 2 cups of washing soda. And I even read about one lady who even added OxiClean, which is a powdered mixture that contains peroxide, and it can be used for whitening, but I don't have that. So okay, the next step would be to add 3 to 4 gallons of hot water, stir it around, and let it cool, and then break it up and add more water if you have to, and then use a stirrer like I have here, or just use a spoon. Be diligent. You can probably even use, if you're going to make smaller quantities, you can even use a potato masher, just as long as you're able to pour it into the soap containers through a funnel, because the chunks have to be small enough to go down easily. And that's basically it for clothing soap, laundry soap. And I suppose you can use this for other things too. It would probably do real well to wash your car, although I'd cut it considerably. I would probably only use half a cup of this stuff in a bucket, 2 or 3 gallons of hot water to be used on your automobile. And anyway, I hope you found this informative and interesting, and thanks for watching.